we said we have three types of joints depending on their structure, and they can be the fibrous, the cartilaginous, and the synovial joints. We already described previously the fibrous and the cartilaginous joints. Let's focus now on synovial joints. And synovial joints, let's remember those two features or two factors that we agree we will take into consideration in order to describe these joints. So, what is the space or what is filling? What do you find in between the two or three bones? In here, we don't have connective tissue. I mean, dense or regular connective tissue. We don't have cartilage. What we have in here is a fluid. And this one is the only type of joint that structurally have a cavity, has a space in between the bones, the articulating bones. So each synovial joint contains a joint cavity, and that joint cavity, which is this the space in here between bone 1 and bone 2, this space is the joint cavity or the synovial cavity. Now, what are we going to find in this synovial cavity? Well, fluid is going to be filled with fluid, and since that fluid is in the synovial joint, we're going to call it synovial fluid. Because it has that cavity, that space in between the two joints, the joints are not stick together, they're separate. So this allows these joints to move even better than the ones that we described before. So these are the most movable type of joints. All of these joints are synarthrosis, amphiarthrosis. They all are diarthrosis, freely movable joints, okay? Now, another important feature, general feature about all synovial joints, all of them have a rich blood supply, especially to the synovial membrane that we'll describe later, which is the one that produces the synovial fluid. And the blood supply is especially given to that membrane because guess what? We filter the blood that the synovial membrane is receiving, and what we have, the product, the filtrate, that's the synovial fluid. So the synovial fluid is just a filtrate from blood. Now, another important feature in here is that joints do have nerves. They have nerves that sensory nerves. These are the nerves that bring to the brain, to the nervous system, information. And these type of informations, the one carried by these sensory nerves, are information about pain, but mostly about the position of that joint. The brain, of course, wants to know at every given minute, at every single second, how is the position of your body? How is every joint in your body? Are they flexed? The angle? The level of how stretched the collagen fibers in the synovial joint structures are stretched or not, that the range, the level of stretch is going to be sent to the brain, and the brain is going to analyze that and can have a map of the position of every joint at any given moment. And that's of course very important for us in order to maintain balance and equilibrium. Okay, let's now talk about the structure of these synovial joints. So first of all, we have, in this example that we have here in your right, the right of the screen, we have a joint with two bones, okay? Now, these two bones, if you remember from, I don't remember what chapter, but we said when we were describing bones, we said that they are all covered by periosteum, except at the ends where we're going to find a piece of hyaline cartilage. That's what we have in here in blue. It's a piece of hyaline, smooth, slippery cartilage, hyaline cartilage that covers only the ends of each of the articulating bones. Function, of course, you're going to avoid the friction of the two bones at the same time that you allow uh, 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 one cartilage to slide, to, you know, yes, to slide one on top of the other one. What other thing do we have? Okay, we have a capsule. We said that we have this capsule. And, sorry, the cavity. We said that we have this cavity, which is this space. What creates the space or the synovial cavity or the synovial joint is the articular capsule here. This articular capsule is a structure. I don't know why I always think about a tennis ball. I don't know. But just imagine that you're grabbing a tennis ball and you cut it in two. And that tennis ball is the one, let's place it in here, is going to keep together these bones and these bones. Let's put it here, is easier for our example. It's going to keep together the bones of your forearm and the bones of your arm, like that. Now, that tennis ball, which is your articular capsule, looks different on the outside or in the inside. Okay, so this is the cursor. Where are you? Okay, this is the outside of the tennis ball of the capsule, and you can see, well, maybe you can't, but it's, believe me, it's fibrous. It's a fibrous capsule made of dense, irregular connective tissue. Fibers there making a framework to support the delicate membrane that is inside. Now, if you grab the tennis ball, this is outside, fibrous tissue. If you see it inside, remember it's cut, so you can see the hole inside. When you see it inside, it's lined by a membrane. And remember, a membrane is a combination of an epithelium with an underlying connective tissue. This epithelium is the one that secretes the synovial fluid. So in here in green, you can see this lining the capsule, the synovial capsule. We're going to find a synovial membrane. Synovial membrane, remember, contains epithelium. The cells of this membrane are the ones who produce the synovial fluid and fill all of this space. Okay, the tennis ball inside is filled with synovial fluid. What else do we have? Okay, outside, and this is not the rule for every synovial joint, but most of them are reinforced on the outside by a ligament and sometimes even a tendon that comes from a muscle and can reinforce or stabilize the joint. So it can be, for example, in the elbow joint, we are going to find ligaments medially on the medial side of the elbow and the lateral side of the elbow. That is going to whose function is to keep the bones in place together. Is providing stability to the joint. Now, if they are located, like in this example, outside of the capsule, we call it extracapsular ligaments. But there are some joints, and the best example is the knee joint, where we're going to find ligaments inside the capsule, and we're going to call them, obviously, intracapsular ligaments. Other structures that we can find in some synovial joints, not in all of them, and are the meniscus and the articular disc. And these are pieces of cartilage, but this is not hyaline cartilage like the articular cartilage. These pieces are pads of fibrocartilage. And again, what it does is resist compression. For example, let's see, in this example, X articulation, the two bones seem to fit each other perfectly, right? And so we just need a lining in there, a covering of hyaline cartilage. But what if the bones that are forming this articulation are irregular here in shape? So we need something to even out these two surfaces, and that's when we put a piece of fibrocartilage to accommodate the articulating bones during the movements of this joint. Examples where we can find this meniscus and articular disc is the knee, the knee joint, and the TMJ, which is the temporomandibular articulation. Here. Another structure, last one, I promise, that we can find in some, not all, the joints are bursae and tendon sheath. What are those? There, I want you to think in water balloons. Yeah, those, I'm sure you have played with those water balloons, but these ones are small. So it's a water balloon, but inside there's no regular water. It's synovial fluid, which means that this water balloon is lined in the inside by synovial membrane. That's and of course these are this is the membrane that produces the synovial fluid. So bursas and our little sacs, I'm covering here. Let me put this here. Okay, are these sacs that you can see in here? Am I pointing correctly? In there? So synovial sacs, so little water balloons that you're going to place in between something that might be friction during the joint movement. It can be placed in between two bones structures. It can be placed, for example, in here is placed in between this bone and this tendon or ligament. I don't know, it should be a tendon. It can be placed also in between the bone and the skin. For example, most people, and this vary again among people, among individuals, and it depends a lot in the activity, the occupation of that individual. People who works on their knees, roofers, for example, they have well developed some bursae right in front of the knee, and they are in between the patella or the tibia and the skin. And what is, again, what is doing, imagine that you place a little water balloon in there. So when you move, the water balloon moves with it and avoids the friction of the bone with the other structure, the tendon, the bone, the skin, etc. And the other structure in here, the last one that we're going to describe, are tendon sheath. And tendon sheath is exactly the same as I told you a bursa is. The only difference that this one is elongated because it follows or it wraps a tendon. See, all of this is wrapping a tendon, the green thing. Okay, that's a tendon sheath. It has the same functions, the same structure. The only thing is that is wrapping a tendon. Don't confuse this. This is not a joint. This is an element of the joint. Now I want to go one more time. I promise. One more time in here to make sure we have all of these elements clear. And I'm gonna do this just if these things allows me to draw. Okay, so let's see. We have, and we're off to a bad start. Okay, I want to draw, but not in here, guys. Work with me. Okay. Well, no, I'm sorry. I want this. Okay. Let's grab this and let's grab blue. Okay. I have the two bones. Each bone is protected by this piece of hyaline, smooth, slippery hyaline cartilage. Now, we're going to form the capsule. The capsule attaches, it keeps both bones together. So it goes from here to here and from one bone to the other bone. Now, remember, this looks totally different from the inside or the outside. Let's put the outside, let's put a red maybe. So in the outside of the same articular capsule, it looks fibrous. Okay, it's made out of dense regular connective tissue with a lot of collagen fibers in there. Inside, if you're seeing the inside of this very same capsule, you're going to see the inside is lined with this membrane. And this is the synovial membrane, the one that whose cells are going to produce the liquid, which is the synovial fluid, and that liquid, the fluid, is filling all of this cavity. So it cushions the cavity, right? It cushions, provide, when we compress, we put the weight on top of that joint, we compress the liquid out of, remember, water is forming most of the matrix of cartilage. So we compress and release all of that liquid, synovial liquid, out. It's actually part of the synovial liquid. And after we release the compression, part of the synovial liquid gets inside the cartilage, the hyaline cartilage. If you remember, hyaline cartilage is avascular, and it has, meaning that it has no blood vessels. These movements of water, synovial fluid, in and out of the cartilage, when we press and release the compression, putting the weight on and off in that joint, that's how we nourish the cartilage. How? Remember, this synovial fluid is a filtrate from blood. It has nutrients, it has oxygen. So all of those nutrients diffuse into the cartilage. Okay, what is the other structure? Let's put in, tell me one color in here that we haven't used. This one looks pretty. Okay, this should use something very different. Let's put yellow. So outside the fibrous capsule of, and here we go. Okay, the fibrous capsule, the red fibrous capsule of the articular capsule is reinforced, well, right here in white we can see it, by the ligaments. Remember, this is an extracapsular ligament. Now, if I place a ligament right in here, inside, I cannot draw anymore. Let me see with this one, because I want you to see the location of those. If I just place, nope. Okay, if I just placed, imagine a line from here to here and a line from here to here and an X. If I place those ligaments right here inside the capsule, we call it intracapsular ligaments. Examples, the cruciate ligaments of the knee. We'll describe that later. And a pad, just imagine a little pillow that you will put in here. If the bones don't fit perfectly, that will be the meniscus or the articular disc. And the bursa and the tendon sheath were already explained in the previous, well, in this slide. Now, these synovial joints, they move. They're freely movable, right? That's what we said. Now let's describe those movements. Yee-hee. I like that part.